she's good, and it takes a special person to stand opposite that and hold your ground and be the bounce off. And
for years, people whispered about Mark Harmon's controlling behavior on set. His co-stars stayed quiet. But now his sister Kristin has confirmed the truth about who Mark really is. The NCIS drama with Pauley Perrette wasn't an isolated incident. The dog attack that left a crew member with 15 stitches was just the beginning. Kristin says Mark's need for control destroyed relationships long before Hollywood. She's finally ready to tell the real story about her brother's dark side that everyone suspected, but nobody dared to say. Mark Harmon was born on September 6, 1951, in Burbank, California. He grew up in a family full of fame. His father, Tom Harmon, was a Heisman Trophy winner and a well-known sports broadcaster. His mother, Elise Knox, had been a model, actress, and artist. Mark's two older sisters also found success. Kelly became the famous face of Tic Tac ads, and Kristin married musician Ricky Nelson before becoming a painter. With so much talent around him, Mark grew up surrounded by expectations. But despite the fame in his household, Mark didn't shine right away. He struggled in school and on the field during his early years. He went to Harvard Westlake School in Los Angeles, where he finally found his stride in football. His performance there earned him a scholarship. But being Tom Harmon's son meant everything he did was compared to his father's legacy, both in sports and in the spotlight. It wasn't easy carrying that name. After high school, Mark chose a less flashy route and enrolled at Pierce College in Los Angeles. He spent 2 years there before transferring to UCLA. At Pierce, he finally got the academic support he needed. The smaller class sizes helped him stay focused. On the field, he became the team's starting quarterback and led them to a 7-2 season in 1971. His talent exploded that year. He earned All-America honors, and within months, major colleges wanted him. He had gone from an unknown quarterback with a broken elbow in high school to a serious recruit in just over a year. Then came a big decision in 1972. Oklahoma, one of the top college football teams in the country, wanted him badly. Barry Switzer even flew to Los Angeles to recruit him in person. Oklahoma had just finished second in the nation and ran an offense that suited Mark's style perfectly. Most people thought it was a done deal, but Mark surprised everyone and chose UCLA instead. They had finished dead last the year before and had little to offer in comparison. But UCLA was close to home. Mark didn't want to ride on his father's coattails. He wanted to build something on his own. On September 9, 1972, he made his UCLA debut against Nebraska. It was one of the greatest upsets in college football history. Nebraska was ranked number 1. They hadn't lost in 32 games. UCLA was expected to lose by 18 points, but right from the start, Mark changed the game. He threw a 46-yard touchdown pass on his first series. Then he ran for a touchdown. With the game tied at 17 and just 22 seconds left, Mark led the drive that set up a game-winning field goal. UCLA won 20-17. His father watched it all from the broadcast booth. In 1973, Mark's senior year, he earned one of college football's highest honors, the National Football Foundation Award for All-Round Excellence. He had a 3.45 GPA and graduated cum laude with a degree in communications. The award ceremony in New York was huge. Hollywood legend John Wayne accepted the NFF gold medal that same night. Mark spoke on behalf of the student athletes. He called them a rare breed. During his 2 seasons at UCLA, he led the team to a 17-5 record. He rushed for 1,504 yards and 14 touchdowns and passed for 845 yards and 9 more touchdowns. In 1973, the team set school records for total yards and rushing touchdowns. But even with all that success, Mark didn't get drafted by the NFL. No team picked him. not even as an undrafted free agent. It was a crushing blow. He had the stats, he had the leadership, he had proven himself. But the opportunity never came. His dreams of an NFL career ended there. So Mark turned to something he had never fully considered before: acting. He had done a commercial with his father and taken on small roles, but now he gave it a real shot. At first, he worked other jobs. He sold merchandise, he worked in marketing, he even learned carpentry in his father's workshop and took on building projects between acting gigs. In 1985, he took a job doing Coors beer commercials. It wasn't glamorous. He stood in front of the camera and talked about how Coors was the beer his parents always had around, calling it special. These ads kept airing through 1987, including one that played during an episode of Stingray on March 27th on King Channel 5 in Seattle. At the time, they were just a paycheck. He had to talk seriously about barley and beer quality, knowing most people didn't recognize his face yet. Years later, when he became a star, those old beer ads started showing up again. Instead of embarrassment, he saw them as proof of how far he had come. Before he got any real roles, he had to sell beer. And he did it well enough to survive. His first real breakthrough came out of nowhere. In 1977, he was nominated for an Emmy. He played a wounded soldier named Robert Dunlap in the television film Eleanor and Franklin, The White House Years. It aired on March 13th and became a huge hit, winning 7 Primetime Emmys, including Outstanding Special of the Year. Harmon's nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor shocked everyone. He wasn't a big name, he wasn't expected to be on that list, but his performance made people take notice. He didn't just show up, he stood out, competing with actors who had been around much longer. That moment changed everything. Hollywood suddenly saw him not as a beer commercial guy, but as a serious actor with real potential. In 1985, he made the riskiest move of his career. On the show St. Elsewhere, he played Dr. Robert Caldwell, a womanizing doctor who suddenly learns he has AIDS. At the time, this kind of storyline was almost unheard of. On November 16th, the Los Angeles Times reported that Caldwell would become one of the first major TV characters to contract AIDS. Even more surprising was that it happened through heterosexual contact. That challenged what many people wrongly assumed about the disease. His final episode aired on February 5th, 1986. It showed Caldwell going from confident and careless to a man forced to face death and warn his past lovers, including Joan Halloran, to get tested. This wasn't just a dramatic turn. It was a public service. Most shows were afraid to even mention AIDS. Harmon and the show's producers didn't just mention it, they put it front and center. That decision changed how people saw him as an actor. A year later, he took on a role that shocked everyone again. In 1986, he played Ted Bundy in the miniseries The Deliberate Stranger. It was a chilling performance. Harmon never met Bundy in person. He said he didn't want to. Instead, he spoke to people who knew the killer. Some of them started calling him Ted because he played the role so convincingly. The 2-part miniseries aired just 3 years before Bundy was executed on January 24, 1989. Harmon made sure the show didn't glorify the killer. It focused on the victims and the investigation. Critics praised his work. Some called it one of the best performances of his entire career. It was the role that proved he could handle truly dark material. It also got him a Golden Globe nomination in 1987. For someone who had once sold beer on TV, this was a complete transformation. Just when people thought they had him figured out, he switched things up again. In 1987, he starred in a comedy called Summer School, directed by Carl Reiner. He played Freddie Shoup, a laid-back gym teacher forced to teach English to a bunch of failing students. It didn't seem like the kind of role Harmon would take. Up until then, he had mostly done serious drama. But he was perfect for the part. His natural charm and relaxed attitude gave the movie its heart. One of the movie's running jokes was his constant snacking, especially on jelly donuts. The line, "We're all trapped in here like rats," followed by actual rat noises, became a fan favorite. Summer School became a surprise hit. It showed that Harmon could do more than just intense characters. He could be funny. He could lead a comedy. He could do it all. Mark Harmon never planned on finding love with a phone call, but one night in 1986, everything changed. A friend was trying to set him up on a group date with Pam Dauber. Mark wasn't interested in the group part, so he asked for her number and left a message on her answering machine. He said, "We don't have to all go out. We could get a cup of coffee or something." Pam was listening. She picked up the phone. That same night, they went out, and they never separated again. At the time, Mark had just been named Sexiest Man Alive, but he told the magazine he didn't care about the spotlight. He wanted a real marriage, one that could survive in a town where most didn't. 1 year later, to the day, they got married on March 21, 1987. They picked a chapel at Mark's old school in Studio City. There was no Hollywood glamour, just the beginning of something that would quietly last a lifetime. Right after the wedding, they didn't even go on a real honeymoon. Mark had to film a TV movie in Vancouver, so Pam went with him. That was their honeymoon, but it never felt like a sacrifice. Their love wasn't built on traditions. It was built on time together, no matter what that looked like. 30 years later, they renewed their vows on the same date. Friends said they still acted like teenagers in love. Pam said she loved Mark more every single day. They didn't waste time starting a family. Their first son, Sean, was born on April 25, 1988, just 13 months after their wedding. Their second son, Ty, was born on June 25, 1992. But what stood out wasn't just how close in time the boys came. It was how far Mark and Pam went to protect their privacy. This was the age of tabloids and cameras hiding in bushes, but the world barely knew what their kids looked like. Mark said they stayed home a lot. Sean eventually became an actor. He even played a younger version of his father on NCIS. Ty became a screenwriter. Both boys inherited the family's creative spark, but they stayed grounded. Pam once said they weren't hiding anything. They just didn't want their lives turned into a circus. Pam made the biggest sacrifice of her career for her family. At the height of her fame, when Mork and Mindy was still fresh in people's minds, she walked away. She said she didn't think two people in show business could keep a marriage going. She chose home over Hollywood. She gave up big money and bigger roles. She chose to drive the kids to school and bring cupcakes on birthdays. She never looked back. Mark made his own sacrifices too. He once missed his son's first steps while filming in New Guinea. He came home and told Pam he wasn't doing that again. That was the moment he chose family over fame. That's why he stuck with NCIS for so long, because it let him be home. It let him flip pancakes and show up for the little things. But not everything in Mark's life was stable. His sister Kristin was falling apart. She had divorced Ricky Nelson in 1980. After that, things went downhill fast. She started drinking heavily, using drugs. She couldn't paint anymore. Her art career was gone. She was making $200 a week as a casting assistant. That was it. Her youngest son, Sam, was being passed from one relative to another. First to her sister Kelly, then to their parents. Eventually, to Mark and Pam. Sam was only 12 when he told his therapist that it was scary to be around his mom. That's how bad things had gotten. In June 1987, Kristin had just finished rehab when she got hit with a subpoena. Mark and Pam were filing for custody. They believed Sam wasn't safe. In court, things got ugly. Sam's psychiatrist said the boy drew pictures of his mother as a dragon. He said she had violent mood swings. Pam said Sam was scared to go home. Said Kristin yelled at him and called him names. The court gave temporary custody to Mark and Pam. Kristin wasn't allowed within 200 yards of their house or Pam's job. The family was torn apart. Mark's sister, Kelly, and their parents took his side. It became a national story. Kristin accused Pam of doing cocaine during her Mork and Mindy years. Pam denied it under oath. Psychiatrist testimonies, drug history, parenting questions. The trial became a spectacle. Everyone was watching. And still, the one person Kristin trusted was Mark. After Ricky died in a plane crash in 1985, her addiction got worse. Mark was the one who finally got through to her. He convinced her to go to rehab. She said she only listened because it was her brother asking. She said a voice inside her said, "Let somebody help you." She had tried therapy before, tried asking for help, but no one listened. No one believed her, except Mark. She completed a month-long program, and then, in August 1987, the custody case took a sudden turn. Mark shocked everyone. He dropped the case. He said too much damage had been done. They needed to stop. They reached a settlement. Kristin got custody. Mark got visitation. And the three of them agreed to family therapy. Outside the courthouse, they hugged. Kristin raised a peace sign and said, "Sam's coming home." It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a new start. Mark Harmon was already known in the early 90s, but things shifted when he took on the role of Detective Dickie Cobb in Reasonable Doubts. From 1991 to 1993, he starred in 44 episodes across 2 seasons. The show got him 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Actor in both 1992 and 1993. It wasn't just another cop drama. His character worked alongside a deaf prosecutor, played by Marlee Matlin. To prepare, Harmon learned sign language and had to balance both verbal and nonverbal acting at the same time. The series was ahead of its time, especially for putting a deaf lead in the spotlight. Even though critics loved it, NBC pulled the plug after 2 seasons. A spin-off focused only on Harmon's character was pitched, but never picked up. In 1996, Harmon switched gears and joined Chicago Hope as Dr. Jack McNeil. He stayed with the show until 2000, becoming one of its core actors. He got 2 SAG nominations in 1997 and 1998. But he didn't just act, he directed episodes too. This was a turning point. He started to shape the production from the inside. He also met Rocky Carroll on that show, a connection that would prove valuable years later. The medical drama was demanding. Harmon became obsessed with getting things right. He researched surgeries, studied real cases, and became known for being meticulous. Later, Carroll said Harmon personally recommended him for NCIS, helping him get the role. This period shaped Harmon's serious work style. He was known for never missing a day on set, no matter what. Actress Cote de Pablo once recalled how she took a sick day on NCIS, and Harmon confronted her about it. He believed strongly in keeping the show moving no matter what. His intense approach wasn't limited to acting. On Chicago Hope, he used his director role to make sure every detail matched his high standards. He even started avoiding public events that clashed with filming. One charity event was supposed to last 45 minutes, but he left after just 12. By the late 90s, Harmon started feeling boxed in. He had played a detective for 2 years and a doctor for 4. He worried that producers would never see him as anything else. His agent began turning down similar roles between 2000 and 2002. It became clear that if Harmon wanted more control over his career, he would need to step into producing. Both Reasonable Doubts and Chicago Hope ended without his input. That lack of control bothered him. At one point, he thought about quitting television entirely and moving into film. Then came The West Wing. In 2002, Harmon appeared in 4 episodes of The West Wing as Secret Service agent Simon Donovan. It changed everything. He earned an Emmy nomination for that role, which came 25 years after his first one in 1977. Fans were devastated when his character was killed off. Over 2,000 letters poured in, asking for him to be brought back. The attention got CBS executives interested. They were drawn to how Harmon could show strength and vulnerability at the same time. Just 3 months after that Emmy nomination, NCIS premiered. Harmon had actually turned the role down twice before finally saying yes. His introduction as Gibbs began on JAG in 2003. He played the character in 2 episodes, Ice Queen and Meltdown, which aired in April and got around 13.8 and 13.6 million viewers. Those 2 episodes set the stage. Alongside him were Michael Weatherly, Pauley Perrette, and David McCallum. At the time, no one knew what was about to unfold, but the role would end up defining the rest of his career. When NCIS launched in September 2003, it didn't immediately explode. It took until Season 3 for the show to really click with audiences. But Harmon's Gibbs stood out from the start. He was strict, focused, and steady. Fans described his presence as fatherly. He stayed on the show for 18 seasons, from 2003 to 2021. By the time the 2010s rolled around, NCIS wasn't just a hit. It was the #1 show in the country. It became CBS's longest-running primetime scripted drama and turned into a billion-dollar franchise. Behind the scenes, things weren't so calm. In 2007, after just 4 seasons, NCIS creator Donald Belisario was out. Executive producer Charles Floyd Johnson later revealed what went wrong. Actors were getting scripts at the last minute, and it was making things impossible. Belisario had a reputation for being hands-on, but it reached a breaking point. Harmon finally told the network that things couldn't continue that way. Even though Harmon never directly asked for Belisario to be removed, CBS made the call. They first asked Belisario to stay involved from a distance. Then he was gone entirely by Season 5. Belisario later claimed it was his decision, but those close to the situation told a different story. One of the biggest shocks came when Pauley Perrette, who played Abby Ciuto for 15 years, left the show in 2018. At first, fans were just sad to see her go, but a year later, she posted a chilling message on Twitter saying she was terrified of Harmon and had nightmares about him. She also claimed there had been multiple physical assaults and that a powerful publicity machine was keeping her silent. This came as a surprise to many. On screen, Abby and Gibbs had one of the most loved father-daughter dynamics on TV, but by the end, Perrette and Harmon couldn't even be on set together. Their scenes were filmed separately and stitched together in editing. The tension had become that bad. The story went back to a 2016 incident when Harmon brought his dog to the set. The dog bit a crew member in the face, causing injuries that required 15 stitches. Photos later showed a swollen eye and long stitches stretching across the cheek. But what made things worse was how Harmon handled it. Even after the injury, he kept bringing the dog to work. CBS eventually required the dog to be leashed or confined, but crew members felt too afraid to say anything directly to Harmon. Perrette stepped in and demanded the dog be banned. From that point on, everything changed. The workplace became so tense that production had to reorganize schedules just to keep the 2 stars apart. In 2017, things got even more serious. Perrette claimed Harmon physically body-checked her on set. According to reports, she believed it was retaliation for speaking up about the dog. She even tweeted that she had fought hard to protect the crew and was physically assaulted for saying no. That tweet was later deleted, but the damage was done. While some people in the industry defended Harmon and said he was kind and nonviolent, CBS never clearly explained what happened. They only released a short statement saying they took all workplace concerns seriously and had worked toward resolution. Perrette continued posting cryptic and emotional tweets, accusing a very rich, very powerful publicity machine of spreading lies. She said she stayed quiet to protect the crew and others involved. Harmon, on the other hand, never said a word publicly. He didn't respond to any of her claims or give interviews about the situation. His silence made things even more mysterious. Fans were left to wonder who was telling the truth and what really happened behind the scenes. Eventually, Harmon left the show too, but his exit wasn't sudden. He appeared in only 4 episodes of season 19 before stepping away. This slow exit allowed CBS to see how the show would do without him. Harmon had played Gibbs since 2003, when the character first appeared on JAG. At the time of his departure, he was 70 years old. Gary Cole stepped in as Alden Parker, filling the leadership role. Surprisingly, the show kept going strong without its biggest star. Gibbs's final episode was set in Alaska, where he solved a case involving a controversial copper mine. After the case wrapped, he chose to stay there instead of returning to his job. It wasn't a dramatic exit or a death scene, it was a quiet goodbye. He found peace in the wilderness, something he hadn't felt since losing his wife and daughter. In one memorable scene, the show even revealed how he got his boats out of his basement, a mystery that had fans guessing for years. He said goodbye to McGee and chose solitude over the chaos of his former life. Even though Harmon stopped acting on the show, he remained its executive producer. He still had creative control and continued earning from it. He even stayed in the opening credits for the rest of season 19. His deal with CBS included a limited appearance arrangement that helped the show get renewed. This meant he could reduce his workload while still guiding the direction of the show. It was a smart move, less time on set, but full involvement behind the scenes. Then came his biggest surprise. Harmon helped launch NCIS, Origins, a prequel series focused on young Gibbs. Not only is he the executive producer, but he also narrates the show. His son, Sean Harmon, is one of the producers too. The series is set in 1991 and stars Austin Stowell as a younger Gibbs. This setup is similar to Young Sheldon, where the original actor provides narration. It allows Harmon to stay connected to the character while stepping back from the spotlight. The show debuted in 2024, extending his legacy even further. When asked why he left, Harmon said he was just tired. He talked about the long filming hours, sometimes 22 hours a day, and how the job had taken a toll. He mentioned that when the show began, he wanted to stay home more and be with his family, but the intense schedule made that nearly impossible. Leaving NCIS gave him a chance to pursue fresh, creative challenges and reclaim time with his loved ones. He also left the door open for future returns, saying that Gibbs wasn't really retired. Outside of acting, Harmon's life has had moments of real heroism. In 1996, he saw a car crash outside his Brentwood home. 2 teenage boys were inside, and one was trapped. Harmon ran out with a sledgehammer, smashed the window, and pulled the boy from the burning vehicle. The Los Angeles Fire Department said both boys might have died if not for his actions, but Harmon downplayed the event, saying he didn't want credit. He pointed out that if the car had exploded, all 3 could have died. The boy, Colin Specht, survived after months in the hospital. Harmon has also dealt with personal tragedy. His sister, Kristin Harmon Nelson, died suddenly in 2018 at age 72. Years earlier, Harmon had taken her to court in a battle for custody of her son, Sam. Kristin struggled with addiction after her marriage to teen idol Ricky Nelson collapsed, and she lost Ricky in a plane crash in 1985. Despite the pain and public courtroom drama, the family eventually found peace. Kristin later said that only Mark could have convinced her to seek help. By 2016, Sam confirmed he and his mother had a good relationship again. Through everything, Harmon has leaned on his faith and family. He's been married to actress Pam Dauber since 1987, and their marriage has lasted more than 38 years. They have 2 sons, Sean and Ty, and have kept their family life extremely private. Harmon once said that staying close to home and being able to make pancakes on Saturday morning mattered more than fame. His faith in Christ has been a steady part of his life and career choices. That belief, combined with his loyalty to family, shaped how he approached everything from acting to producing.